already gone live via the city. I would ask the city liaison to commence a roll call of the board members.
Yes. So we have Ms. Maria Aragua de Olivares, Mr. Raul Reyes,
Present.
Mr. John Beckelheimer. I see him on the screen. And we have Dr.
I was
Gaskins.
muted.
Dr. Gaskins. We have Ms. Angie Deyes.
Present.
We have Mr. Robert Deyes.
Present.
We have Ms. Paz. Ms. Daniela, she's on the screen. We have Ms.
Yes, I
Jacqueline.
am present.
Yes. Ms. Jacqueline Hinojosa. And Mr. Juan Vargas. Mr. Chair, you do have quorum.
All right. I'm not sure if everybody was able to review the minutes from the previous meeting. If there are any corrections or edits, I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes as read. I believe Mr. Beckelheimer is signifying.
Yeah, sorry. I so moved.
It's been moved to accept the minutes as read. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded by Ms. Hayes. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'd just like to ask for the members to do make a motion or a second motion, they can just for the purposes of meeting minutes that they announce their ask the first name, just so that staff can identify who motioned and who seconded it. It's been motioned and seconded to accept minutes as read. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying all those opposed, signify by saying nay. Motion passes. I believe we still have 10 more minutes for citizen comments, so we can revisit that agenda item when the time elapses. And we can go into agenda item number 5.
So agenda item number 5 would be a discussion with possible action on the review of applications and scores for third-party funding hotel motel and general fund applications fiscal year 2021-2022.
I'll go ahead and open up the floor for any discussion, questions, criticisms, concerns as per the IronWave process. I think there was some issues with the scoring sheets. Staff, can you elaborate on that?
So we logged into the EBIT system and we saw that most of the committee members had not submitted any scores. So we just wanted to bring that up to you guys.
I know the circumstances as far as the funding, I know we can fully fund all of the applicants. I went ahead and scored them earlier today. I would suggest that if there's any action that would like to be taken in lieu of scoring, as long as we submit the scoring, I think we could take action as far as that's concerned. I open up the floor to discussion.
I have a question, please.
Yes, Mr. Beckelheimer.
As this is my first rodeo in this department, do we have the option? We do have scoring, I understand that, but can we make recommendations of less than they're requesting or more than they're requesting, obviously, or none of what they're requesting? Or is it take it or leave it kind of proposition?
No, in our final decision, we can decide as far as if we want to limit the allotment or increase the allotment. Like Mr. Reyes and myself had explained in the previous meeting, we are an advisory board strictly.
Sure.
Council will take our advisement and then they will either follow that advisement or go ahead and do as they please. They are the elected officials. We are only appointed by them to represent them here in this committee. I would entertain a motion to fund the full amount as per the third-party funding is concerned, because there is sufficient funds.
You're talking about just the hotel motel portion of it.
I'm sorry?
You are referring to the applicants that are under hotel motel. That was a question. Are you referring to only the hotel motel applicants?
I think that's what Mr. Reyes was referring to, but I see right now on the screen that he lost a little bit of connectivity.
Yes.
So hopefully, but yes. So I want to remind Tina Martinez, Community Development Director and Staff Liaison for this committee. I just want to remind the committee that it is in as a task of this committee for all applications to be scored, and then as a group, based on the scoring, that you all can determine funding amounts. So, but the scores are very important so that you all can, have that discussion on who to, reduce funding and who to increase funding. Like Chairman Reyes mentioned, there is right now enough funds that were allocated for hotel motel to basically fill all the applicants to the amount that but that's still up to the committee. The committee feels that something was incomplete, something was not at even a score of a 70 or higher, then you might just, as a group, decide, although we have the funding, I feel that this organization does not meet the scoring criteria enough to fund it. And so you can definitely put that. I would not encourage anybody to fund more than the application being submitted. Please take into account that these budgets were prepared by the organization, taking into account other funding sources that they have and, other capacity. Sometimes we feel as an organization, giving someone more money is a good thing, but they might not have the capacity to spend it within the year that is allocated for this contract. So, those are just things that I would like to bring up to the committee. But of course, you all discuss and any other questions, we're here to assist.
Great comment. Go ahead, Mr. McHummer.
I'm wondering, as I just started this process this morning of learning how to do the scoring and messing around with it, for me personally, it's a little premature, even though the money's there. I kind of want to go through the motions of the scoring of all of these. And since there's not a significant weight on us because there is enough funding, even just for the practice of doing the scoring correctly for the ones that are going to matter the most, which is the ones from the general fund, my preference is to wait and finish the scoring before we decide to, again, I know this just goes to City Council, but I'd rather go through the process correctly. That's just my 2 cents. In other words, I'm not ready to vote on granting anybody anything. And I do realize it's not ours to grant, but you know what I'm referring to. That's for me. See how the rest of you feel.
Are there any other comments on the board?
Sorry, I came in a little bit late. So my question is, did we already review whatever the lawyer said?
I believe we had a question as per the requirements of scoring. Was that what you were asking about, or which question were you asking about, Jackie?
Whether if the lawyers, because of the incomplete and the ones that was submitted late.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Well, I know right now that the only scoring that's available is third-party funding. Is that correct, Mr. Campos?
That is correct.
Yes. So I think, were there any that were deficient from the third-party funding as far as applications?
Sorry, you mean from the hotel motel, right? From the
I'm
hotel.
sorry, yes. Hotel motel third-party funding. I apologize. It wasn't specific. I thought it.
Right. No, the hotel motel did actually have some comments. We had put comments that a few were missing the supplemental marketing plan, a few were missing a signature page, like a signature on a page. There was some comments that we were given. But in regards to the question, we did seek legal, I guess, sorry, we did ask legal what their, I guess purview is, like what do we have as a committee? So they did set that the committee is basically free to consider any and all applications that they choose to consider. So that is your charge. You are legally allowed to do that. And then they went on to further comment that council will probably want to know what the groups would have been scored if they had not been considered. That's just kind of some feedback that we've gotten from other times that we've taken items to council. And then although council will be making the final determination on funding, but it is beneficial to have the committee score all applicants and make a standard deduction if you all want to have consider an application incomplete. So that was just a recommendation. Again, it's up to the committee how you all want to score them and how you all want to consider an incomplete application or not an incomplete application. That's why we also left it up to the committee. We just gave you all our comments on what we felt, was a little bit lacking in maybe one application versus the other. And then we went off to ask even about the late submission. So their recommendation was, as far as allowing groups that have not submitted an application to submit one late, this poses more of a logistical problem because the committee, then you burden yourself not having enough time to score a late application as opposed to an incomplete one. But again, they left it up to the committee. That is your charge, and you all can decide how to score them, and if you all want to do a standard deduction, or if you yourselves want to deduct based on your evaluation of the application.
Jackie, was that a sufficient explanation to the question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. I know I just noticed it's 12:15. Mr. Campos, are there any citizen comments available?
No, Mr. Chair, no citizen comments.
Is there a motion on the floor and it has not been seconded? Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the motion?
I think the motion, if I remember correctly, I believe the motion had been made to just accept all the hotel motel applicants since we had enough money to cover them all and move on. And that was a motion. I don't believe it's been seconded. I personally want to go through the process of finishing my scoring of them before I do that, but that's just me. If I'm overridden, so be it. Don't take it personally.
I'd also like to take the time to score them individually as well.
Mr.
I agree with Mr. Recojano.
Me too.
Would someone can entertain a motion possibly to give yourselves a deadline possibly for the hotel motel scores to be turned in and maybe discussed in the next meeting, or if you all want to discuss something to that effect. So right now there is no motion on the table. It's open for discussion. I know we also submitted, Edgar from our office did submit the missing documentation or the clarifications on some of that. So if anybody has any questions or anybody didn't receive that information, please advise me. So any questions?
Well, I do have a procedural question. As I've read through the instructions of the scoring and the entire eBid system or iBid system, it very clearly stated that an applicant could not submit information late, and we're allowing it. So I'm wondering, how many applications or applicants did we have that came in late and were not included because they didn't have the application even in? You mentioned one last time. Is it more than one?
So we only had one late submission.
I would argue.
I was having
Sorry.
connectivity issues. I apologize. Having connectivity issues. I believe I'm back now. You were saying, Mr. Beckenheimer? I apologize for interrupting.
And that's okay. And I don't want to cause any issues here, but I'm thinking that if the instructions that I was reading online specifically stated that you could not turn in secondary information after the deadline, it would not be considered. And yet we have moved, I think I'm the one that made the motion to please let them consider it, putting it in so that to allow them to interject it so that we could make our scoring based on the entire information. And if we wanted to hickey them, so to speak, for turning some of it in late, that's fine. But since we're kind of bending that rule, I'm wondering, since it's only one applicant whose application came in late, I would like to see how you all feel. I would think it'd be a good idea, just for the sake of being fair, to allow them to submit their application. I know that's kind of bad because they didn't submit it at all, but what's the difference between a no submission or a submission that's incomplete and we're allowing them to complete it late when the instruction clearly says we won't? Is there an issue with letting that? And I don't know who this other person is or this other entity is, but do you all feel that we should allow that one in just so we could be complete and nobody's crying foul?
I second that.
Was that in the form of a motion, Mr. Beckenheimer?
Let's make it a motion.
It's been seconded by Ms. Hinojosa. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll open the floor to discussion. Can you just repeat that again so I can have the full
Yes,
view?
the motion is to allow the one entity that did not get their application in on time to allow them to turn it in now so that we could consider it with all the others, since we allowed additional ones to some of the other entities we allowed them to interject additional information.
Okay, just for my knowledge, staff, was this a hotel motel application, or was this a general fund application?
It was a general fund application.
Okay. Well, we do have a motion in a second on the floor, but I would ask that we address the agenda item that is presented to us, unless we've already tabled agenda item number 5.
The agenda item actually reads that you can discuss both hotel, motel, and general fund. So we are within the item. Okay.
Just wanted to make sure. So there's a motion. Is there any discussion as far as the motion on the floor?
I believe you had a second also, right?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hinojosa had seconded it. I think Mr. Beckenheimer is having some connectivity issues as we speak.
No, none at all. But I've already made my plea, so I didn't think I was going to add any more information to it.
Okay. No, I saw a little that little sign that says that you're in and out of. I have the same issues. That's why I was just making sure you're still with us.
I appreciate
if there's no discussion, I'll go ahead and move into the previous question. And as anybody would like to add a thought or okay, then in that case we'll call the previous question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay. Passes. So,
I just wanted to make I wanted to just advise the committee of how we would be submitting that application, probably in an email format also with a scoring sheet, because since we have the eBid system open to you all right now, I would hate to interrupt that, because it would require us to shut it down, upload something, and then turn it back on. So I would hate to interrupt, you know, if you all already are in the process of reviewing your application, the other application. So what we'll do is we'll submit it as a separate email, and then you can just email us back the scoring sheet, and we'll include that with our discussion.
Is that action okay with the board? That she submitted via email
It's okay with me.
to us? Okay. Because I know that right now we only have access to the hotel motel scoring. So if we complete that, we could take that pause and they can add it to the Ion Wave.
Oh, okay. So I'm
I mean-
sorry. We'll follow
'Cause
up.
right now it's not even, yeah, it's not even available to us at this moment.
Well, let me tell you, I called Edgar earlier today and asked about that because I couldn't access the general fund applicants, and I signed out and signed back in, and now I had it. Now I do have the information of the general fund applicants available to me online, which I didn't